Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Mac Danzig to defeat Hayato Sakurai. And I'm here to talk about Brunno Ferreira versus Nursulton Ruziboev. Ruziboev's 29 years old, 34-8-2, and he's got 6 inches of height, and I'm assuming some reach over Brunno Ferreira, who's 30 years old and has a record of 10-0. Ruziboev, he's got 32 finishes in his 32 wins. 12 by knockout or TKO, and a good amount of them are by knockout from what I've seen, and 20 submissions. His 8 losses come 1 by knockout, 1 by submission, 6 by decision. I saw the knockout loss, but it was many, many years ago. It was a TKO in round 2, or he was knocked down with a left hand and then pounded out. But that was, again, many years ago. The one submission loss I haven't seen, but it comes to a Kimura, which, if you ask me, I'd say that's his favorite submission move, Ruziboev. And the decisions, he's lost 6 of them. I've seen his last one to this guy, Boris, and it was a fight where he was just dominated on the ground. Mounted in every round, I believe. Ruziboev, I think he's a better submission artist than he is a grappler overall. You know, one of those Brian Ortega situations. Not that I'm saying he's Brian Ortega, but in that vein, so to speak. He's definitely a good submission artist. So he's got 20 subs. As I said, he favors the Kimura. I think he got 3 Kimura wins in his last 4 submission victories. So it's definitely the move of the day for him. And even in that loss to Boris, the guy that dominated him on the ground, he was working the Kimura at any chance he could. Swept him once to no avail, and kept going back to it. But I don't think that's going to work. If he's got Brunno Ferreira on top of him. I don't think he's just going to be able to lock up a Kimura. He'll probably be able to lock it up. He's got such long arms. He could probably lock it up from a shittier angle, but I don't think he's going to be manipulating a tank like Brunno Ferreira with little to no leverage on the ground. But Ruziboev, he's a dangerous guy on the feet as well. He's a long, tall guy. I've seen him get plenty of knee finishes. He got one clean knockout with a step-in knee, one beautiful TKO with a counter knee. He got a beautiful, long, tall finish by catching a kick from this guy, forcing him to do a somersault and then kicked him in the head as he came up. That's only the type of shit some Johnny Walker type of fighter can do that's built like that. But Ruziboev, he's still a guy that I consider, not the best on the ground or on the feet. I think he's vulnerable in both areas. He just hasn't been exposed because he hasn't been fighting the best competition. And he's gotten some solid wins as well, earlier in his career especially. But overall, in his 44 fights that he has now, obviously not the best competition. And, if he was fighting the best competition, I would have heard of him. But I never heard of him. And he's definitely got promise, especially with his unique build, and he's got some scrappiness in him as well. Got a beautiful slam knockout, a rampage style slam over this guy Monet. This guy Monet, he had him in the full mount. He reversed the guy and then rampage slammed him. He also actually did that same slam to get out of a triangle from the guy Boris, who beat him in his last decision. So he's got some moves he always goes back to, but I think despite his unique build and his bag of tricks and whatever, he's definitely a guy I envision being exposed in the UFC, to be honest. I don't know if I could say that for Brunno Ferreira, although it looked like he was on his way to losing that fight against Gregory Rodriguez, to be honest, or Rodriguez. Then he clipped him with a big left hand. But Brunno Ferreira, despite not having the record of Ruziboev, I trust him everywhere. I like what I see from him standing up and on the ground. Standing up, as DC pointed out in the Rodriguez fight, he switches stances every 20 seconds. He's really good at and effective from both stances as well. He's got really big power in his hands, obviously, with that big left hand over Gregory Rodriguez, but also he's got some power in his kicks, which I think could be a very valuable weapon here against Ruziboev. If they're caught standing, it's going to have to be a valuable weapon for him. And on the ground, Brunno Ferreira, he's got, first of all, good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, really good passing, and overall finishing prowess, whether it's from ground and pound or submissions. He's overall pretty deadly. Again, his record doesn't look too good standing there, or it's perfect. It's 10-0, but still, experience-wise, it doesn't look good fighting a guy with 44 fights like Ruziboev. But Brunno Ferreira is a guy that, despite all that, I trust more. I trust more. I think he's got an athletic advantage in this fight, a speed advantage, and certainly a power advantage, you know, unless we're talking step-in knees and whatever. So I'm picking Brunno Ferreira to win. I'm picking him to win. He's only won by finish, so I have to guess it would be by finish. But Nursulton Ruziboev historically has been pretty tough. Again, I wish I've seen all of his fights and all of his losses to really have a better assessment here. But I'm definitely leaning towards Brunno Ferreira. I'm picking him, and I'm betting on him as well. Not the biggest bet, but I bet on his money line at minus 155. And really, I'll wait to see the props because, again, he's a finisher, and I think if he's winning, he's finishing. So that's how I see the fight. I'm going with Brunno. We'll see what happens. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.